Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to look at more ordinal numbers, this time going all the way up to 20th, and then we're going to look at the date system in Latin. Okay, we'll begin with the ordinal numbers up to 20th. We've already learnt 1st to 10th, primus, secundus, tertius, quartus, quintus, sextus, septimus, octavus, nonus, decimus. Okay, now we're going to push on through up to 20th. Undecimus, duodecimus, tertius decimus, quartus decimus, quintus decimus, sextus decimus, septimus decimus, duodecimus, undecimus, and vicesimus. Okay, now those last three, that word vicesimus can be vicesimus. So it could be duodecimus, undecimus, and vicesimus. Okay, now you're probably not going to need these words in full because Roman numerals allow us to use numerals to create numbers. But it's good to learn them. They are adjectives, they go like bonus. Okay, now that's just a nice little thing to have up your sleeve. We're now going to have a look at Roman dates. In English, when we give the date of a month, we say it's either the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd or the 5th or the 9th or the 11th or the 25th or whatever it is of that month. And as you know, months either have 30 days, 31 days, or if you're February, you either have 28 or 29, depending. Okay, so that's how the months work for us. For the Romans, it was a bit different. First of all, their months. They had 12 months, just like we did. They sort of mucked around a bit in the earlier years, changing the names of the months and also the length of the months. But they ended up with 12 months, which were exactly the same as ours. Januarius, Februarius, Martius, Aprilis, Maius, Junius, Julius, Augustus, September, October, November, December. All entirely recognizable, so you know what they are. Now, months in Latin are adjectives, so if the month name ends in us, it goes like bonus. If it ends in er, like September, October, November, December, they go like arcer, arcris, arcre, you remember? And aprilis goes like tristis. Okay, so those are your months. They are adjectives, and they are very recognizable because they're essentially the same words as our English months. Now, how do we work with them? Well, a month in the Roman calendar had 3 key dates. The calends, which was the first of the month, the nones, which was normally the 5th of the month, and the ides, which was normally the 13th of the month. Okay, so in most months in the Roman calendar, you've got the calends, which was the first day, the nones, which was the 5th day, and the ides, which was the 13th day. And the way you gave a date in the Roman calendar was to say that such and such a date was so many days before the next key date. Okay, so you might, for example, say that my birthday was on the 4th day before the calends of February, or the 2nd day before the ides of March. Okay, so that's how you specify a date. It's always so many days before the next key date, and key dates are calends, nones, and ides. If your birthday or the day you're trying to specify was in fact on the calends or the nones or the ides, then that's easy. You say, well, I was born on the ides of March. Okay, but anything else other than those 3 key dates, you are so many days before the key date. And just a further complication, not all months have their nones and ides on the same day. Okay? It's normally the 5th for the nones and the 13th for the ides. But, as often, there's a little rhyme we need to learn, which tells us about the months which have different dates for their nones and their ides. In March, July, October and May, the nones and the ides use a different day. In March, July, October and May, the 7th teams up with the 15th day. Okay, so March, July, October and May have their nones on the 7th and their ides on the 15th. That's not so very, very different if you think about it. From 30 days have September, April, June and November, all the rest have 31. You know, dates have a habit of being a bit kind of weird. Not helped by the fact that we're trying to get 365 days into a year, which is a slightly cranky number. Okay, and then just to confuse things, when you are calculating dates, the Romans had this weird habit of counting both ends. Okay, so just to take an example of how this works, we're going to head for the 3rd of January. The 3rd of January, the next key date for January is going to be the nones. And the nones of January take place on the 5th. Okay, so the 3rd of January is, we would think of it as 2 days before the 5th. But in Latin, it's actually 3 days. They count both ends. So, the 3rd of January, written as a Latin date, is ante diem, so that's before the day, ante diem, and it's abbreviated AD. Then the word 3rd, tertium, so ante diem tertium, tertium agreeing with diem, so it's in the accusative, masculine singular, ante diem tertium, and then nonas Januarias. Okay, and if we were heading for something after the 5th of January, so let's say we were going for the 6th of January. So the 6th of January, the next key date is the Ides of January, which are on the 13th. So we're going from 6th to 13, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's 8 days. So that would have been ante diem octavum idus Januarias. Okay, now for that to make sense, you have to know that the calendae are, that's a feminine first declension plural noun, the calends, calendae, like mensae. The nones are also a first declension feminine noun, noni, and the ides are a fourth declension feminine noun, like the plural of gradus. Idus, 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 idum, idibus, idibus. Okay. Right, now you will be delighted to hear that you almost never see a Roman date written out in full like that. They abbreviated, thank goodness. And the way they abbreviated was they put A.D. for ante diem. They then put a Roman numeral for the ordinal. So if you were trying to say the 7th day before whatever, instead of having to remember the Latin for 7th, you just put V11. So AD V11, short for ante diem septimum. And then the calends or the nones or the ides were also abbreviated to cal or non or id. And the months were abbreviated to Jan or Feb or Mar or whatever. Okay, so we'll have a little bit of practice at that. There's a cracking little exercise in here called 6.9, where you've got to write in the Roman format the following dates. So we'll start with the first one, March the 13th. Okay, So March the 13th, the first thing you've got to do is work out in the month of March which were the key dates. Were they 1st, 5th and 13th, or were they 1st, 7th and 15th? Well, the little rhyme, March, July, October, May, tells us these are the months where their key dates are the 7th and the 15th. So, March the 13th is 2 English days before the 15th. In other words, that's when the Ides of March are, the 15th of March. So March the 13th sounds as if it's 2 days before the 15th, but because the Romans count both ends, it's 3 days before the 15th. So, ante diem tertium, the third day, ante diem tertium idus Martias. Okay, get that? I have another one. January the 4th. Okay, that's actually my birthday, January the 4th. Now, March, July, October, May, so January is not one of those. So the 4th is going to be so many days before the next key date in January, which will be the nones, in other words, the 5th. So the 4th of January is, it sounds like, 1 day before the nones of January. Now, when it's just the day before one of the key dates, we use predia, on the day before. So the 4th of January is predia nonas Januarias. Okay, and we'll do one more from here. We've got June the 21st. Right, March, July, October, May, so it's not one of those. So June the 21st is so many days before the calends of July. Okay, now you've got to work out how many days before. Well, 21st all the way up to the 1st of July. 30 days have September, April, June. So June has got 30 days, and we're going from June the 21st. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So that's 10 days to the 30th. We're going to the day after that. So that's 11 days. So ante diem undecimum, okay, that's the 11th day before, ante diem undecimum calendas Julias, okay, and that can be abbreviated AD 11 XI Cal Yule. Okay, it's a bit of a thing, isn't it? Bit of a thing. Let's see if it's easier going the other way. So for example, we've got in here exercise 6.10, and I'll start randomly at number 6. We've got ante diem tertium nonas Novembris. Okay, so what they call the third day before the nones of November. Because we know that the Romans count both ends, it's going to be the second day, not the third, as they would have said. So 2 days before the nones of November. Okay, need to know when the nones of November are. March, July, October, May. So November's not a funny one. So the nones of November are the 5th. 2 days before the 5th will be the 3rd. So that is the 3rd of November. And one more, ante diem quartum idus Februarias. Okay, so the 4th day before the Ides of February, we would call that as 3 days before the Ides of February. March, July, October, May, it's not one of those. So the Ides of February are the 13th. 3 days before the 13th will be the 10th, so that is the 10th of February. And I'll just check that I'm right. What was that? Number 7. 10th of February. Nailed it. The answer book is brilliant. Okay, so that's quite enough for now about dates. Blimey, what a palaver. It does help. You can look at kind of tombstones and things and see dates and think, yay, I understand how those work. Remember, if you are actually on the date, the ides or the nones or the calends, the nones or the ides, if you're actually on the day, you go in the ablative because it's time when. So you get calendis in the ablative, or nonis in the ablative, or idibus in the ablative. Remember, that's a fourth declension now. But as I say, that is enough. It's making my head spin. Next time we're going to be moving on to relative clauses. Qui, quae, quod. You're going to love it. But until then, keep up the good work. Do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And see you back here for more Latin very soon.